It's Wednesday, so you know what that means, everybody. Time for another episode of GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith and Jack Veltri joining you here. We hope that you're all having a great day so far, that you're having a great week. And Jack is coming to us from his car. Jack, where are you?
So I'm currently parked at my girlfriend's school, picking her up from work here in a little bit whenever she gets done. And then we're off to a Wednesday night Halloween party. So that's going to be quite a joy. And it's her birthday on Friday and stuff. So I'm kind of just all over the place this week. Like we're going to the Hurricanes game tomorrow night and driving all over the map in South Carolina. So, yeah.
But you will be in Oxford this weekend.
I will be in Oxford this weekend. So
are you flying into Birmingham or?
No. We're driving the whole way to me and Katie Dugan, our photographer. We're driving Friday morning out to Oxford. So
you have to miss the birthday. So therefore,
a little bit.
To have a great day today. Tomorrow you've got the Canes game, so that'll be fun. And you're doing it up early in the week because you have the birthday coming up.
Pretty much. Yep. I'll see her for a little bit on Friday morning, but that's really it. So yeah, we're celebrating a little bit early this week here. So
well, it's perfect. The Canes are playing the Islanders tomorrow. So
that's right.
Yeah, there you go. You have your Islanders sweatshirt on. But Jack Veltri, the ultimate party guy, going to a party on a Wednesday night. What are you doing a Halloween costume together?
Oh yeah. So I don't know if you've ever seen The Princess Bride movie that came out back. Yes, movie that came back out in the 80s. And we are dressing up as Caroline's going as Princess Buttercup, and then I am going as Wesley, the guy in the all black. So
okay,
got the costumes, and yeah, we'll have to see how it turns out yet. So
love that. That is awesome. Well, happy early Halloween to all of you. Let us know your costumes that you're going to wear down in the comments below. We're talking South Carolina taking on Ole Miss this weekend, and it's in Oxford. It is going to be a tough one for South Carolina. And let's backtrack just a little bit, Jack. I know that you've had the chance to talk about it several times, whether it be on the radio or here on Gamecock Central. South Carolina's game last weekend against Alabama, a real heartbreaker. You and I thought it would be way more of a dominant win from Alabama, but South Carolina kept it close. And honestly, there were times in the game where I'm like, sometimes I just wish that it was a 3-touchdown game right now, because the outcome, as much as you're happy they kept it competitive, and I think that's great, that is a heartbreaking outcome for a lot of people. And, South Carolina battled, they fought. So I give them credit where credit is due, because they did show a lot of compete, a lot of fight out there. And I think it gives you a little bit of hope going forward. But again, the road doesn't get easier. It just continues to remain very, very hard for the Gamecocks as they take on Ole Miss this weekend. But quickly, your takeaways from last week's game against Alabama, Jack.
Yeah, you're right. A much better performance than I think anyone was expecting. I certainly wasn't expecting much, but this is what South Carolina does. We went over it last week. They have a bad game. Everyone counts them out. No one is believing in them. That's typically when they're at their best. We've seen it time and time again. Most times they end up winning the next week, and sometimes they lose, and that's what happened on Saturday. A much better performance overall from this team that I think should instill a little bit of hope that the schedule is still going to be tough the next few weeks, but hopefully, since it's going to be November, Carolina typically plays pretty well in this month, that things can get better and maybe they steal a win over these next two games. But my overall takeaways, defense continues to play very well. And Big Red comments here, where did our defense come from last week? Could we win with that defense if that defense shows up in Oxford? Absolutely, they could win if that defense is going to be showing up on this upcoming road trip. You'll win anytime this defense gives you what they did on Saturday. Now, let's just preface, the fourth quarter, that's not good enough. That has to be a bit better. You made some key mistakes, did not stop Alabama when you had a chance to really step on their throat, could not do so. Lenore Sellers fumbling at the end of the game. I'm going to come a little bit of slack because it happened in a key moment in the game where you could have had a potential game-winning drive. but he fumbled. He played pretty well most of the day. I know everyone's going to talk about the completion percentage, but let's face it, you're not in that game if it's not for 16. He played very well, in my opinion. And I think that's the other thing. The offense was a lot better, not substantially better. Like 22 points scored is not enough typically to win a football game, but considering where this offense has been at times this year, I'd say it's a big improvement. So you played a pretty good game, not good enough to win, but you made Alabama kind of sweat a little bit. You forced a lot of key mistakes in this game, and if it weren't for, I mean, you were leading in this game with 10 minutes to go. You just got to find a way to close it out and finish, which I think is the number one thing on the agenda for this weekend if you're South Carolina.
A lot of my friends who are not South Carolina fans, but they watch college football, were texting me at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, do not text me, okay? I blame them. I do blame them for this, because I would respond and say no comment, period. I just did not want to say anything in response, and obviously we know how the game turned out. But we did see improvements, and I think that's ultimately what you're asking for, right? If you're a South Carolina fan, you want to win that game. You knew it would be tough to do it, but to show that you were in it and to show the improvements is definitely helpful, especially as you get ready for Ole Miss this weekend. A lot going on in the world of Oxford, Mississippi and Ole Miss, especially when we're talking Lane Kiffin and all of the coaching opportunities that might be coming his way. We've heard his name thrown around for the Florida job, now for the LSU job. It is like constant spotlight over there on Lane Kiffin and whether or not he will leave or he won't. I'm wondering, Jack, if you think, because he did talk about addressing it with the team last week, the Florida rumors. I'm wondering if you think that maybe some of that attention, that spotlight, could maybe shift the focus a little bit away from what's in store this weekend against South Carolina, and that could maybe be of benefit to the Gamecocks, or do you just feel like Ole Miss, they've done this before and it should be no issue?
Well, the fact that he addressed it with the team last week ahead of the Oklahoma game, and they still won that game, and it was a good performance for Ole Miss, I think that's kind of out of the way. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Now, we got to admit, you have to admit, the LSU job opening over the weekend and all that buzz coming up about it, I understand that might have some effect on the players and whatnot, but I think Ole Miss is in a good spot. They know what's ahead. They still have a chance to go play for a college football playoff bid with only one loss right now, and the schedule is very favorable this month, Kendall. I mean, they get South Carolina, Florida, you get Citadel, and then you go to Mississippi State. That is a very favorable schedule if you're Ole Miss, where, quite honestly, I think they should be 11-1 at the end of the regular season. Even if they drop a game, they would be at least 10-2. So, I mean, they're still very much going to be a college football playoff team, in my opinion, once the regular season ends and all of that, the 12 teams comes out. But yeah, I mean, look, it's hard not to look at what's going on with their situation and Lane Kiffin seemingly just being the top candidate for any of these jobs out there. I mean, he is the hottest commodity when it comes to the coaching search landscape right now. And there's only going to be more jobs opening up over the next few weeks, whether it's probably Auburn or Florida State. And you'll hear his name brought up for any of those big premier P4 jobs. But it's not my place to say where he's going to end up going. I don't know. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I do think he's going to end up staying at Ole Miss. I just, not to really dive too much into all that, but I mean, he has a good thing going there right now. The expectations are different at Ole Miss compared to Florida and LSU, where you get fired after 3.5 years for, let's face it, I mean, Brian Kelly was 34-14 in his time at LSU, but never really did anything. Billy Napier underperformed and had a losing record. So I understand it from that standpoint, but I just feel like why go to a place like that when you know the expectations are going to be sky high and the pressure is on you more so than ever?
Yeah, Nick Saban said it today. Just, is it really a better opportunity for Lane Kiffin to go to Florida or to go to LSU? I mean, at this point, he's doing a great job at Ole Miss, and he has all of the support behind him that he could possibly need. So it is going to be interesting to see how all of that pans out. Jack, we got to give a shout out though before we keep going to Clint Hammond, our presenting sponsor.
Yeah, so if you are in the market to potentially buy a home, or you're even thinking about it, I'd recommend go ahead and checking out our guy Clint of CMG Home Loans. He is in the mortgage industry, so he has been in there for over 20 years now. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan and also a longtime supporter of Gamecock Central and all of the great things we do over here, including our GC Live shows that we do every single week. Always been the presenting sponsor for as long as I can remember, as long as we've been here, Kendall, and he's always been very good. So if you are interested in buying a home or even thinking about it, he will take you through that process step by step, tell you how it's looking, and all that good stuff. So give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597. Or you can go to clinthammond.com for more information. And if you're watching live or seeing us on screen right now, all that information will be above us here on screen all show long.
We appreciate Clint as always. Let's answer a couple questions. What do you think? It's looking like it's going to be harder and harder for South Carolina to make a bowl game. They'll have to beat either Ole Miss or Texas A&M on the road, and then they'll have to win out at home to end the season against Coastal and Clemson. So they've got to win 3 out of their next 4 games, and that will be difficult and tough for South Carolina. So what do you think? Like, this is obviously hard to tell. We are not Shane Beamer. We don't make the decisions, but it is an interesting point of conversation and one that a lot of people are curious about, Jack.
Definitely. I think it depends on how the offense looks more than anything. Like whether they make a bowl game or not, I think it's one factor. But if the offense looks significantly better the rest of the way, then I might change the conversation. One important thing to think about here, I was thinking about the other day, this is more so a pro-style offense that Mike Shula, Shane Beamer, they seemingly run. Now, Lenore Sellers might not necessarily be the best fit for that type of offense, but keep in mind, they brought in Cutter Woods, a freshman quarterback from South Carolina, and he's someone that I think would probably better fit that type of passing offensive system that maybe Shula and Beamer have in mind for the future. Just keep that in mind when you're talking about firing an offensive coordinator, because Sellers, we don't know if he's going to be here next year. So we'll see how the offense looks over the next 4 games here. They looked better against Alabama, but there's still improvements to be made. It's a good start, but you got to be better the rest of the way. And hopefully you are able to get to a bowl game, so that can kind of, we don't have to have that discussion necessarily of, are you going to move on from Shula just because you didn't make a bowl game? The offense has been pretty rough this year, but I'm willing to believe, considering they've made some changes with the offensive line and kind of simplifying things on offense to call the best plays, that worked pretty well on Saturday against Alabama. Hopefully that can continue here moving forward.
Okay, let's answer a couple more here. This one's about the portal. What are your thoughts, Jack, on how those guys who came from the portal have done this season?
Hard to say if they struck out in the portal, because they have brought in some nice pieces, but it's not, I'll say this, it's not the same impact as last year. You brought in Demetrius Knight, Torselli Simpkins, Kamar Bell, Kyle Kennard. You brought in a lot of nice pieces. Rocket Sanders, you brought in all those guys I just mentioned, impact starters for you at South Carolina, helping you get to the record you had. Because without those players, you're talking about SEC Defensive Player of the Year from last year with Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight, who had the game-winning interception against Clemson to end the year, and Rocket Sanders, who rushed for over 800 yards. So when you compare that to this year, yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same impact. But would I say they struck out in the portal? I don't know. We still let's let the season still play out, because still got 4 games to figure that out, and if guys are going to step up. But as of right now, I'll say that they have not had the same impact on the portal guys that they got.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about this weekend, Jack. So we know that South Carolina showed improvement last weekend, especially offensively. The defense played really well too. So when we talk about what South Carolina can capitalize on from that game, bring into this weekend against a team like Ole Miss, we know Ole Miss can have a really strong offense, and it's led by Trinidad Chambliss, and he's done a great job since coming in. He actually wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year. It was Austin Simmons. He's come in, done a great job, and so we know that that offense can be difficult to deal with. So defensively, you want to see more of what you had last week. Offensively, I think it's, yes, more of what you had, but again, just those little things. We talk about the fumble, and it's not even a little thing, but the fumble, the pick six at the beginning of the game against Alabama, like those turnovers cannot happen. If you feel like the turnovers are eliminated and South Carolina plays similar, if not a little bit better than how they did last week against Alabama, do you feel like they stand a chance against Ole Miss?
Yeah, definitely. I do think they have a chance in this game. It's not like Ole Miss's defense is top of the SEC. It's more so middle of the pack. And I think South Carolina knows that it kind of figured some things out over the weekend against Alabama. Like even Lane Kiffin in his press conference on Monday kind of pointed out that South Carolina had Alabama beat in that game. And so they're going to be dangerous and a little bit of a challenge because of that. And I think if South Carolina gets that defensive performance that they got this past weekend, and that includes the fourth quarter, I mean, you're going to give up a score or two to Alabama in this game. It's just about, can you finish? I mean, you played well enough to win that game. The problem was you had the lead with 10 minutes left, and then you let Alabama go down the field and score, get the 2-point conversion. It was almost like, I don't want to say that they felt the game was over at that point when they had the lead, but it kind of felt like it just, the mojo wasn't the same after that. Like everything they did well in defensively in that game just didn't happen at the same rate. And maybe that's more so credit to Alabama than anything, but it's going to be a challenge this weekend. You're facing another top 10 team, this time at their place. If South Carolina can get off to a good start offensively and score somewhere in the ballpark of, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 points, I don't even know if that would be enough. But with this defense and what they've done this season, then I think it's very possible.
Okay, what do you think about this one?
What is the best matchup against Ole Miss? The offense against the defense against their offense, or South Carolina's offense against their defense? I think it's the first one. I think it's South Carolina's defense against Ole Miss's offense. This is going to be a challenge because you got Trinidad Chambliss, they got Lacey running the ball pretty well. You have some nice receivers in this offense. It's going to be tough for sure, but I think South Carolina's proven that they can go out there and rattle a really good quarterback like they did with Ty Simpson at Alabama this past weekend. I mean, he looked pretty rough at times until the fourth quarter there, where Alabama really needed to get a drive to tie this game. And of course he led them down. So I think South Carolina has proven they can shut down an offense and keep you in a ball game. It's just, can your offense go out there and score enough points to help you try and win this game?
Yeah, and there's a few other questions here. We'll certainly get to them as well. You know, we're talking about South Carolina and Beamer ball, and it has not been effective this year the way it has been in past years. So it will be interesting to see. I think it's all like scenario based. Like if South Carolina feels like they're in the right situation to do it, they might try it. I know that there are a lot of tricks up Shane Beamer's sleeve, and there's certainly a lot that they might be able to do here. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation more than anything. I think if you're, I don't know, it's tough to say. I'm gonna probably lean towards yes if it's the right situation, but I can't say for sure. It depends on what's going on in the game, how the offense is looking. Well, time will tell.
All right, Jack. Well, let's give a shout out to a couple more sponsors that always support us here on Gamecock Central.
Yep. So let's start out with Palmetto Golf and Belts. So if you love golf, you need to go check out PalmettoGolfing.com for the latest custom-made gear. Even if you don't play, Palmetto Golf and Belts is still a great place to grab a gift for that favorite golfer in your life. They have custom golf gloves, golf tees, golf towels, all available in garnet, the cross design, the palmetto tree moon design, and so much more. One of the coolest things in the shop is the needlepoint belts, which are extremely well made, but also offer more affordable options than many of the others on the market. Palmetto Golf and Belts is operated by Brandon Cohn, who was a big South Carolina fan and a long-time member over at Gamecock Central. Our members on the Insiders Forum are loving the products that Brandon has in his shop, and he runs special deals all the time. So head on over to palmettogolfing.com today. Check out his shop, support a South Carolina fan and GamecockCentral.com member, and get yourself some great gear. And then we're going to talk about Ferry Chevrolet. If you're a South Carolina fan who is interested in perhaps a new or used vehicle, make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Led by a fourth-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry, the family-owned business over at Ferry Chevrolet has been serving the community for almost 100 years, since 1926. It's conveniently located just off of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston. The folks over at Ferry Chevrolet are local, trustworthy, and always transparent. The business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and a handshake, and they still operate with those same principles to this day. So head on over to ferrychevrolet.com today to check out their inventory and to get in touch.
Jack, we mentioned how the offense was better last week. Was there one specific thing that you saw where you were like, oh yeah, that's what's making the difference?
Yeah, I would say, I think just the fact that, I think specifically on offense, I think they just kind of realized, like, Shane Beamer mentioned it after the game that they had less volume with their playbook for offense. So meaning they called their best plays that worked. They kind of just, whatever worked in the game, that's what they called, right? So they were kind of just eliminating the bad ones that didn't work. Like he kind of referenced this week, most college teams have about 65 to 70 plays in their playbook. It's not like they really cut it down to like, here's your 10 plays and that's what works. But it was probably like, I don't know for certain how many plays they, had in their system of what really works, but it was less than what they normally would have. So about 10 to 15 less plays than what they would normally call. And it worked. It did. And if it meant calling the same plays over and over again, that's what they were going to do. So I think that was the main difference. And I think it's something that you need to continue to evaluate every single week, because why not call those plays that are going to work for you?
Absolutely. This is funny. Yes, I'm sure Jack is very happy about that. And I will say, being here in Charlotte, there were so many Bills fans. It was actually unreal. Like even on Wednesday of last week, Thursday of last week, I'm like looking around, I'm walking around the city, and it's like Bills fans left and right. So shout out to the Bills. I knew it was a loyal fan base, but just getting to see it here in Charlotte was pretty impressive, Jack.
I'm a little disappointed I didn't get a chance to go to the game. I was in
tickets were so expensive. Holy cow.
It was that. Tickets were pricey. And then also I had to go to Greensboro for the men's basketball exhibition game against NC State. So duty called.
That by
yeah, that was a close loss, but the team looked pretty good on Sunday, but the Bills look good too. So no complaints here.
Jack is happy. Now he'll see how his Islanders do this week. Okay, I actually have to go. Everybody, I'm so sorry, but I have a meeting to get to. So we are going to do a little shorter version of the show. I think Jack is going to stick around for a second and answer a few more of your questions, because we love this. You guys are asking so many questions. So Jack will stick around to answer them while he waits for his girlfriend before they go to the Halloween party. I'm going to go, though, so I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on Wednesday, and we'll be back with Before the Sandstorm on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But, Jack, take it away, and I'll see y'all soon.
All right. Thanks, Kendall. Appreciate it. All right. So, like Kendall said, she has to get going, some duty calls at work, but I'll stick around here for a little bit longer and kind of talk about things, especially since, like I said, on Sunday, I did not get a chance to I posted on the Insiders Forum, but did not get a chance to go live for Sunday Reset like I normally would, because of just the travel of going to Greensboro. I mean, that took up most of my day, and I slept in a little bit since did not go to bed till about 1 a.m. on Saturday going into Sunday morning. But no, appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, we'll run this for a little bit longer, answer a few more questions. So if you have anything that you want to talk about, drop in the comments. But, kind of going back to just the overall vibe for this game, I do think you feel a lot better about South Carolina's chances heading into this one, just because the offense showed somewhat of a pulse against Alabama. Like, you outgained them 333 total yards in that game, which is good. You had 3 opportunities in the red zone. You only scored 13 points. You had a touchdown, and you had 2 field goals. Not amazing. You'd like to score a touchdown every time you're in the red zone, but the fact that South Carolina is moving the ball and doing it kind of efficiently, there were a few drives in that game where it's going 15, 14 plays, and you're taking over 7 minutes, and that's good, but you want those drives to end in touchdowns. So I think that's the next step for this offense here. It's a start, what they did, and it was probably their best offensive performance of the year. Lenore Sellers looked pretty efficient. I think they did a lot of the things that catered to the better players on this offense. Like, the ball was in Sellers' hands a lot. He had, I think, 18 carries in this game, had a bunch of yards running on the ground. Probably should have had more, considering there was a touchdown taken off the board in that game on a holding penalty on Tree Babalade. There was the interception that really should not have ever happened. I think Rasul Faison, I still feel that way, that he should have caught that ball early on in that first quarter, but he didn't, and it led to a pick 6. So there's a lot of what if moments in that game, and maybe that would have changed the outcome for South Carolina to win. And here's a good comment here from Dubster, who also says, "Hope I run into you in College Station, Jack. Will be my first SC away game." And yeah, that will be here in about 2 weeks, give or take, and I will be in College Station for that game, covering it. I'm looking forward to getting out there to Texas A&M. So hope to see you out there as well, Dubster. But Dubster says, it just felt nice to actually be entertained watching Carolina for once this season. Yeah, it did. There have been some real ugly moments this season for Carolina. It has just, when you lose 5 of your last 6 games, there's just not much to get excited about. But let's give credit where it's due. Played a pretty good game on Saturday for 3 quarters, actually 3.5, and then you just could not finish and seal the deal in the end. So are you able to replicate that this weekend against Ole Miss and moving forward the rest of the year? Meaning, can you get a good defensive performance? Can your offense score points? And you even got special teams playing this game against Alabama. So figure all that out, play well in all 3 phases, and I think you'll always have a chance to win, regardless of who the opponent is on the other side. Adam with a good question here. What is my favorite stadium to visit in the SEC? Ooh, and I have not been to all of them. So Ole Miss will be the 10th stadium that I will have been to, and then I will have a few more to get to after that. I think the only ones I have left are Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, Texas. I did LSU. I'm doing Ole Miss, Arkansas, and what's the other stadium I have not done? There's one more that I'm totally blanking on. I've done Oklahoma. I've done Missouri. I've done LSU. I've done Alabama. I'm playing up Georgia. I've done Willie B. I'm blanking on the last stadium that I'm missing here, but and I've done Texas A&M before. I'll say my favorite stadium to visit, it probably is A&M. I just enjoy that stadium. It's so much. I never went to the old Kyle Field when they did the renovations about 10 years ago, but I've been to the new stadium, well, the updated stadium. I think this will be my 4th trip there. I've covered. Actually, this might be my 3rd trip. I've been to a game as a fan and then went one more time ahead as a reporter. So this will be my 3rd trip to A&M to cover a football game. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it in 2 weeks here. But Oxford, I'm looking forward to as well. Big Red asks, did Oscar Attaway not play much for a reason? I think it's more so about the guys that you have in front. Matthew Fuller's doing some good things. Rasul Faison's also playing pretty well at times. Not perfect, but he's doing better than Attaway right now. I think that's just what it comes down to is Attaway's probably your third guy on the depth chart, and it's hard to get a ton of touches and ton of opportunity when you have the other two guys in front. Philip Harris says, it's crazy that we haven't won in over a month. That's mentally draining for the fans, team, and coaching staff. Totally is. I mean, South Carolina had a winless October. I know everyone wants to talk about Cocktober, but I think Gamecock fans probably know that Cocktober is just not a real thing because South Carolina does not do well in the month of October. It's always been November that has been the strongest month for this program. For whatever reason, they just play better as the year goes along, and they went perfect in November last season at 5-0. So we will see if that carries over into this next month here, as Ole Miss game is on November 1st. Dubster also says, I don't agree with the fire Beamer sentiment. I've been hearing I really want him to be our guy that finds success. I agree. I was asked about it on radio with the Fan Upstate the other day on with Cole Bryson and Diesel, and I kind of just said, I was asked straight up, do you agree with the sentiment that Beamer needs to be fired? And I said no, I don't. I think, look, the season has not been good. Let's just address that. 3-5, it's a failure if you don't make it to a bowl game, right? But I think we're talking about Shane Beamer, the same guy that this time a year ago was like, many people were talking about him having a great season. He's a great coach and he's the man. And then everyone's kind of just turned on him. I don't get it. One bad season is not, it's not good where South Carolina's at right now. And it's more so of what have you done for me lately type of deal. But I think it would be foolish to move on from Shane Beamer and fire him after this season. If anything, I think you give him next season, and if things don't go well next year, then that's a different story. But you just signed him to a contract extension back in January earlier this year. So I don't think you're moving on from him after this season, regardless of what happens. So, and I leave for Ole Miss on Friday, Adam. I leave for Ole Miss Friday morning-ish, and then I will be there for the weekend in Oxford. And I'll have all coverage for you guys on GamecockCentral.com. Live updates, videos, the behind-the-scenes vlog, as usual, post-game recap, Gamecock walk, stories galore. I mean, lots of coverage coming from Oxford this weekend. So if you're there and you see me, feel free to say hello. I'm looking forward to getting out there and then seeing what South Carolina can do against this Ole Miss Rebels team, which has been very, very good so far this season. So I think that's going to do it for now. Appreciate you guys joining me. And, of course, Kendall had to leave a little bit early with some work obligations. So I figured I'd stay on for a little bit longer to keep this live stream going. And you're right. Don't forget the outfit of the day. You're right, Dubster. I will definitely – that always comes, whether it's posted on Twitter or in the eventual behind-the-scenes vlog. And by the way, I posted the Alabama behind-the-scenes recap about 2 days ago. So if you're watching on YouTube right now with this live stream, whenever it's over here in a few minutes, you can go and click off and check out that behind the scenes vlog. It was a good one. So appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for tuning in. We'll plan to do Sunday reset. It might be a little bit tough with the travel. South Carolina's got a baseball scrimmage against Charlotte on Sunday. I haven't decided if I'm going to make the trip back to cover that, but we will have coverage on Gamecock Central either way with that. And I say that because that might affect if I'm able to do Sunday reset or not. But you guys will know as soon as I do. So appreciate it as always, and I will see you guys next time. We'll see you on Saturday for Before the Sandstorm with me and Kendall as always. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.